Welcome everyone to this week's edition of OPP Watch as CF Montreal prepares themselves to face Inter Miami FC for a midweek watch. This week we are joined by Daniel Granada of the Battered Herons podcast to give us a preview. Thank you so much for joining us, Daniel, today. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to finally playing somebody that I feel we should actually beat.
Oh, okay. We're starting there. Okay. So that hurt a little bit. Okay, so
Yeah,
a little bit. We're gonna get started with the Miami stuff first. So a
for
little bit
sure.
of a crazy off season for Inter Miami, right? With a new coach, Javier Mascherano, and a lot of new faces in the roster. Almost a complete makeover. Can you kind of summarize what the fans' vibe were heading into the 2025 season after that craziness?
Well, a lot of people wanted that out. I wasn't one of them, but a lot of people wanted that out because he couldn't win the tournaments. My worry was we didn't really have anybody to replace him. We got Mascherano, which had failed with the Argentina U20s or
Hmm.
U22s. But there was some hope because we felt like the roster overall did upgrade in most positions. We felt like the defense was the biggest liability, and we upgraded there. We got rid of Christoph, which is slow as molasses, and we picked up Falcon, which is we thought would be great. We got this new guy Lujan, which nobody really loves right now, but at the time we thought would be an upgrade. So we felt like we upgraded every position, and we thought that last year's team that broke the single season record for points, we felt like it upgraded at almost every position. So we were ready for a great season. And it's been anything but that because we feel like Mascherano is in over his head. But as far as just the off season and the moves, everybody felt really good because we felt like we upgraded at just about every single position, and the team was deeper than the one from last year.
And that's kind of where my next question goes, right? How high were the expectations for this Inter Miami this year? And what happens, Daniel? What happens if they fail?
So expectations were Champions Cup, which obviously we got eliminated by Vancouver. But we felt the way that that bracket turned out, it almost seemed like, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's the case, that they set it up exactly for Miami to make it to the final. Because we were the only side of the bracket that had no Mexican teams on that in that quarter up on top until the semifinal. And even then, we ended up playing against an MLS team. But we failed, and the expectations were Champions Cup and MLS Cup. Obviously, MLS Cup is still within reach, but there have been a lot of people that are starting to lose confidence in us having the ability to win that because of the recent run of play over the last, I would say, month and a half, 2 months. I still think it's early. They're going to bring in more players, but the expectations are very high, and right now the results have been very underwhelming.
Yeah, exactly. And it's almost been 2 years into the Lionel Messi experience with Inter Miami. How would you summarize his time there? And I know it's Lionel Messi, so it's
Yeah,
driven the whole league insane. We hear it here in Montreal almost every single day. It's almost shoved in our
really.
face that he's still there, right? So, what does the future look like for for the team with him or without him?
Well, there's been a lot of rumors going around that he might not come back. He's coming back next year. The word around the water cooler, as they say here, is that they're just waiting to really open the ticket sales to like the general public for the new stadium that opens next year, and kind of do like an announcement. Messi's coming back, and then next week, hey, by the way, now general publics can go ahead and get their tickets for the new stadium. But everybody understands and pretty much expects him to be back next year. The 2027 thing, that's still up in the air. I don't know if he'll come back for 2 years. Jordi Alba did sign until the end of 2027. So that has people kind of leaning towards Messi will probably do the same. But as of right now, everybody feels pretty confident that he's going to be back in 2026, hopefully 2027. And as far as the first 2 years, me as a fan, I've enjoyed it. Watching greatness on a weekly basis is something that I'm not taking for granted. The downfall is that the team's under a microscope, and it seems like every loss or every draw or every bad play, the entire MLS is ready to just talk poop, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's fun, but at the same time, it gets really annoying, right? Because over the last month and a half, everybody's just dying to like, ha ha ha, you guys suck, blah blah blah. So it's been really fun as a fan. My seats first row. I never thought I'd get to see Messi that close in my life. I sit in the first row behind the goal. So on a weekly basis, I'm seeing him just a couple feet away from me. So it's been really cool. And I don't take it for granted, but I do understand why some fans are annoyed because it's hard to enjoy when the pressure and the expectations are so high that, and if you're not winning everything, then you're supposed to be upset. And, that part of it does suck.
Yeah, and I know we talk about MLS and soccer here, but as you guys, our listeners know, or they don't know, maybe I'm from Miami, so um, when in any sport in Miami, when you had the big three with the Miami Heat, you had the big success with Tyreek Hill in football. The expectations are so high, and everybody is clapping. And whenever there's, like you said, they're in a microscope, and there's a little bit of
Yeah,
failure, right? It just gets all the media attention that they don't want. So I can completely
right.
understand where you're saying that you're still seeing one of the greatest players ever
Absolutely.
here. So it's crazy. But um, Inter Miami is currently standing seventh in the standings
Seventh in the East. Yep.
in the East
They
with
have one
six
game in
wins.
hand, but mhm.
Yeah, with 6 wins, 5 draws, and 3 losses. How would you summarize Javier Mascherano's first season at the helm?
Disappointing.
Mm,
He seems everybody just assumed that because he was a defensive player, right? He was a center back, Barcelona. He played defensive midfielder for a little bit also. That was going to be what he was going to key in on. And the defense has somehow been worse since last year, and the attack has been worse since last year. So under Tata, you would score a lot, but people were like, okay, but you're going to give up one or two, which was fine because you outscore everybody. But now we're giving up 2 or 3 goals a game, but we're also not scoring. So as of right now, Mascherano is disappointing. He seems like he's a little in over his head. We haven't had any cohesion. The back line, we haven't had a solid pairing at center back yet this season. It seems like we always have two different people starting, and I think that's led to a lot of the miscommunication on set pieces and things like that. I don't even know what formation we play. We
mm.
started off playing a 4-2-3-1. Then we went to 5 in the back, 3 in the back. This past week we did a 4-4-2. And I get it, right? Because we've been struggling, he's trying, right? And that's what I tell people that watch our show. It's like, at least he's trying. At least he's not being stubborn about it. But it is getting frustrating because we don't even know what to expect anymore. And there's more people than not are asking for his job, but he's not going anywhere because there's no replacement. Who are you going to bring in to coach Messi?
Tata Martino,
They're not.
bring him again.
Yeah, they're not
Do it
many
again.
options. So,
Or
so
Laurent
I don't
Courtois.
think.
But
Yeah.
we're not gonna go there. So as you said so nicely at the beginning of the show, CF Montreal's last place, right? Everybody
Mhm.
knows the bottom. And Inter Miami are facing last place team in CF Montreal, who is coming off a draw against LAFC at home, another team that has big stars. Where again we tied, CF Montreal tied with them, and this is kind of this Inter Miami game tomorrow is kind of an opportunity for them to restart their season. CF Montreal. How does Miami view this game? This next game?
It it's viewing it as a get right game.
Okay.
It's had a really rough run of play. They I'm trying to remember right now. It was San Jose. They drew. Then they got their butts kicked by was it Minnesota? And they just had a really bad run. They lost to we drew against Philadelphia just now. We've had some tough opponents, and we haven't been able to win. We've lost like 6 out of the last 8 games. So when you count Vancouver also, so it's been a really tough run. And this is the first time that on the schedule we see somebody that we could technically say, hey, this is a team that at home we
Yeah.
should be able, with the roster we have and the expectations that we had, we should be able to beat. Whether it be ugly or pretty, we should be able to beat Montreal the way they've been playing. So they're looking at this as, okay, on Saturday, we played against Philadelphia. It took us the last 10 minutes to salvage a draw, but it kind of got everybody feeling, okay, we kept fighting, we got that. So now they look at this. If we can get those last 10 minutes, build off of that, get a win against Montreal, and then go up against Columbus, which is one of the top teams in the East, and somehow beat them, we go into the Club World Cup not feeling great, but feeling much better than we did just a week ago.
Yeah.
So Montreal, everybody's looking at it as a must win, because if we do not win, not even a draw is really acceptable right now, because we have to go into that Columbus game with some confidence and some momentum, because Columbus, I mean, no disrespect to Montreal, but we look at them as, one of the top teams in the East. That's a team that we have to prepare for. So Montreal has to be that get right game. So that's how Inter Miami is looking at this game.
Okay, interesting. And for this game, we did ask you, Daniel, to give us your predicted lineup. Which honestly, as I was building this, Daniel, it looks like like a FIFA squad that I'm building. Right? You got
Yeah.
Ustari in the goalie. You got Ian Frey on the right back. Aviles, Lujan, if I'm not saying
Lujan. Uh-huh.
Lujan in the center backs. Noah Allen as a left back. You got Teo Allende as a right middle, and Sergio Busquets, the legend, Redondo as midfield, Jordi Alba as a left midfield, almost left back. He does
Yep.
like to drift around
Yeah.
that side,
Uh-huh.
and nobody really knows him, but Luis Suarez on as the striker position, and that other guy, Lionel Messi, as the striker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm
And
saying it that way, but I'm not mad. But but yeah, it's what should CF Montreal expect out of this lineup, out of this format? I know that you said that it's really hard to grasp what it is that Inter Miami is trying to do with their lineups right now and their formations, but and honestly, Daniel, as you mentioned to me before the show, they might drop an egg on us on everybody
yeah,
tomorrow. But
especially since it's a short week, so they might surprise us. One thing that we felt like we were missing the first, I'd say, month and a half, 2 months of the season is Jordi Alba. Last year, he had 14 assists for this team. Like, he was a main contributor in the attack. And to start this season, I guess Mascherano was thinking more defensively, and he didn't want Jordi Alba to push up too much. So he wasn't. But over the last couple weeks, when he started trying to change things, he had him pushing up a lot more. Obviously, you play a higher line, you get beat on the counter. And I guess that's a question for you to ask if Montreal plays the counter a lot. But because he started pushing up so much more, last game, he just put him basically in the midfield. He's like, you know what, Noah Allen, you can play that left back position. Jordi Alba, you can play that left mid position. And that gives Jordi Alba the freedom to push up a lot more and not worry about covering that space behind him as much because he has Noah Allen behind him. So I would expect a lot more attack down the left flank with Jordi Alba and Noah Allen with overlapping runs. Messi free roaming, even though it's two up top. Messi almost plays like a false nine. He drops back a lot further to pick up the ball. And Redondo, which hasn't been starting frequently, but Yannick Bright, he's a lot more defensive-minded. He got injured, so Redondo will be there. And I think he'll be contributing a lot more in the attack also because Yannick Bright, although he's great defensively, doesn't really give you too much in the attack. So I expect a lot of attacking up the left side and then just crosses because that's what we weren't doing to start the season, and that's what we've kind of been doing a lot more of the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And I know this might seem like an obvious question. Usually this question is a little more challenging when we talk to other teams. But what would you say are some of Miami's strengths that CF Montreal must be aware of?
It's funny you asked that because we asked all our guests also on our show. And then we had somebody in the chat the other day. It's like, if you were on somebody else's show, what would you say Miami's strength is? And you know what? Up until I wouldn't say we have many strengths. We haven't looked solid in any aspect of the game, I would say.
Right.
We have not looked this season. I know the easy answer is Messi, right?
Yeah.
But
he's a cheat code.
Yes, he is. He could create a little Messi magic here and there. But honestly, the defenses that we've been playing have been playing compact. And until we finally started pushing it wide over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we would just force the ball down the middle. And all you had to do was man mark Messi with two people. And even Messi, with the magic that he contributes, it's hard to consistently beat two defenders. And everybody was just man marking him with two people, and it kind of just nullified his effect. And so a strength that's very difficult for me to say. I would say the strength is possibly the midfield. When Sergio Busquets is manning the midfield, he does spray the ball out around, whether it be wide, centrally. He'll find Messi, and he'll start the link-up play there. I think Sergio Busquets is the strength. And when he gets the space to work, he can cause some damage. Now, even more so that we're kind of spreading the field. When we were working just straight up the middle, it looked really ugly. But now that we're using the whole width of the pitch, Sergio Busquets is kind of the igniting factor. Him and Jordi Alba on the left side.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about the strengths, but I know you talked about it a little bit earlier with the struggles of Miami. What are some of the weaknesses that Montreal could potentially exploit for tomorrow's game?
There are two.
That was
One
quick.
is, yeah. Well, because we've been complaining about it on our show for so long. So the
Yeah.
first would be, well, do you guys, how do you guys play? Are you guys like a counterattacking team, defend and then counterattack, or
We're more of a building up team. We build up. We
oh,
build up
okay,
from the back. So yeah.
okay, because our weakness is defending the counterattack. We play so high. Our defensive line plays so high that
Hmm.
when we lose the ball, we get caught on the counter. That's how Vancouver kicked our butt.
Yeah.
Philadelphia had a couple chances this last week. We cannot defend the counter. Lujan, that player that was back there that you read out the lineup, he's slow.
Mm.
Busquets isn't getting back anytime soon. Messi and Suarez aren't defending. We cannot defend the counter. So if you sit back and just play the counter, you have a good chance of scoring on us. And then the second is set pieces defending. Because we haven't built any defensive line or just our players in general, because everybody's swapping in and out, starting, coming off the bench, I feel like there's no cohesiveness. And when it comes to defending set pieces, there's just a lot of confusion. We're like zone marking instead of man marking, and players just get open. Like nobody marks a certain player, they get open and they get into dangerous places, and then we get in trouble. This past weekend, Quinn Sullivan for Philadelphia got the ball, nobody on him. He had the time to set up a shot, far post. It's ridiculous. So defending set pieces, just because I feel like the continuity isn't there and we don't just communicate on the pitch well enough. And then defending the counterattack. If you guys have a quick, with Sealy, I think is
Yeah.
yeah.
Good call. Yeah,
If he can get on, if he can get a ball out on the counter, I think he could be trouble for us. I feel like Prince Owosu has been a little bit of a bust for you guys, but I think if Sealy can get on the counter, I think that he could make some real damage. That's the one player that I'm worried about.
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of in recent games, and we're not talking so much about CF Montreal here, but
Yeah.
in the way that we play is that Jean Tasseroy, the goalie, has been just launching it to either Vrioni or Prince Owosu. They've been getting on the ball, and quickly. It's not a slow thing; it's a quick thing. And then kind of that second ball is sneaking up on defenses when they get the ball from the goalkeeper, right? So it's been an interesting way to build up per se, right? So kind of a direct play. So we talked about the strengths, we talked about the weaknesses. Now it's a very obvious question for you, Daniel, right? But I want to forget about the obvious. I want to forget about Lionel Messi. I want to forget about Sergio Busquets. I want to forget about Jordi Alba. The obvious names. What is a player to watch for you tomorrow?
Okay. There's a few, because people don't give Miami credit for all the young players they have. They have all the players, tons of players that are 21, 22, 23 years old that are contributing. I would have said Yannick Bright. I think he might be one of the top 3 center defensive midfielders in the league, but you're not going to see him because he injured his hamstring this past weekend. So now, since he's not an option, I would say Noah Allen. He's naturally a left back. Tata Martino placed him at center back last year, played him a lot. A lot of people raised their eyebrow because he's undersized.
Yes.
But he looked really good last year, and he's looked even better this year. So him, whether he's playing center back or they're pushing Jordi Alba up and letting him play left back, he's great with the ball at his feet. He can help build up the plays from the back. So Noah Allen is one, and that's an American name, even though he might get called up to the Greece team because he's also Greek.
Oh.
And if I give you one more, Telasco Segovia, I think he is an absolute baller. We just haven't figured out how to use him yet. And we've played him out wide, and he just doesn't look like that wide player. He performs better centrally. The best we've seen him is the couple games that Messi missed when he was playing that 10 role. And I think that they need to figure out a way to get him centrally, but he has been coming off the bench. And when you see him linking up with Messi and Suarez in the center of that pitch right above the box, he's dangerous. So those are the 2 names I would say. I'd say Noah Allen and Telasco Segovia, 21-year-old from Venezuela. He's a baller also.
All right. So we like to finish off usually the show with one question. What is your score prediction for tomorrow?
I'm gonna say just because,
be nice.
No. I'm gonna say just strictly because I feel like the way the game ended against Philadelphia and Miami, Messi doesn't give interviews. Like, he just doesn't. And after that Orlando loss, that was the game I was forgetting. The Orlando loss, he came out, he did a post-game interview, which caught everybody off guard. That's how you know, okay, things are getting real. There was a players only meeting after the Orlando game. They're feeling the pressure, and I feel like after that draw against Philadelphia where they had those 2 late goals, I feel like they feel like, okay, we have to show up now. And because of that, I think they're going to come out with a point to prove. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say 3-0. I'm
Okay.
going to I'm going to say 3-0. I feel like they're going to come out with a point to prove, and they have to. And Montreal, I don't believe in the Montreal attack.
That's
I
okay.
don't.
That's okay. A lot of us, a lot of fans and a lot of people covering the team also don't believe in the attack. So it's a
Yeah.
fair point, and they have, I think, they're on the same boat as Miami as Miami, right? Where they have a point to prove, 100%. Daniel, I have the hardest question of the show to ask you now. I usually ask this to all of our
Okay.
guests. So, what's
All
the
right.
best spot to eat in town? And you can't include Palacio de los Jugos. You can't include these places. We just lost everybody
Okay.
there.
Uh, let's see. Best place. That's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question before.
No, it's the
The
hardest question of
best place
the
to
show.
eat. Okay. I will give you one of my favorite spots.
Yes.
I don't know if people would consider it the best, but I'm not a big fan of seafood. But they, for some reason, have a great steak there. I eat the New York strip there. And the best part of this restaurant is called Rusty Pelican, and it's on the
Yes.
water. It's on the water. And if you go there right as sunsets, you have a great meal. If you like seafood, you really love it. If you're into steak and not into seafood, New York strip is delicious there. They have great mash. Like, it's just really good. The food is great. But the best part is the view. You sit by the water, the sun goes down, and you see all of downtown Miami as the sun's going down, and you're eating by the water. So to me, that's one of my favorite spots. The food is great, but more than anything, because of the view and the ambiance, that is, to me, if you're gonna come down here, Rusty Pelican to me is a great spot to eat at.
100%, and we do have a lot of CF Montreal fans that like to travel to Miami to watch the games for Lauderdale. Um, so all
Miami
right,
next year.
well, yeah, yes, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us today, Danielle. Here at the
Absolutely.
Ball is Round in this edition of Op Watch. Where can our listeners find you for everything Inter Miami?
So we do battered herons. We come on 4 to 5 times a week. We do Las Garzas, which is basically a battered heron show, but in Spanish on Monday nights. So if you want to hear some Spanish football talk, you can join us Monday nights in Spanish. And then we also cover the league, which Andy's been a guest on our MLS show. We do battered MLS fans. We come on once a week, sometimes twice when we have some guests. We'll be coming back on next week. So battered MLS fans. So yes, battered football all around.
Well, thank you, Daniel, and may the best team win tomorrow.
Absolutely.